Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back. A abbreviated break. Usually we go every other week, but when Cash is available, I make time to get Cash on this show. And she was available. I have some exciting stuff to talk about with her. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching and joining us this week. If you've listened to the show, no stranger to Cash, obviously, you're generous enough to do this pretty regularly with me, at least once a quarter now. And been seeing you moving and shaking on LinkedIn and a lot of exciting ventures in your current roles and even some other projects that you're working on seem to be kind of taking form and some stuff that you've hinted at over the past few months when you've joined, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be following you. So I wanted to have you on so you could talk about, everything like that. But thank you for coming. How have you been?
Thank you, Matt. All is well in my world. It's always a pleasure to have some time to catch up with you, share some nuggets that I've gotten, from the last couple of months,
Yeah.
through lived experience, and yeah, some changes going on. I recently bought a new condo in Toronto, so got my foot into the home ownership life,
Yeah.
and it's been feeling fabulous. I recently actually left my long-term role as well. We've talked about my time at my last workplace. I was there for 7 years, and
Yeah.
so I'm starting a new role tomorrow. You're going to release this on a Monday. It'll be
Yeah.
Tuesday, so mid-May 2026. Really excited. Really like a kind of an upgraded calling,
Yeah.
and like a really fun new opportunity. I was so excited to be learning more about it, and I'm excited to share more when the time is right.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll get into it a little bit today, but
for sure.
anyways, areas to
Yeah,
explore.
absolutely. And rest assured that episode will happen. So regardless, if not today on this episode, we will reconnect and discuss that journey, especially because a lot of the audience is navigating their search, thinking about starting their search. So going through it recently and being as intentional as you were, I think you'll be able to share some insight for sure. And that's kind of the key word of the day, right? Intentional. That's I think I have it in every question that I sent to you for what we're going to discuss. And that's one of the reasons why I really love having you on the show because you practice what you preach on LinkedIn, and recently you've been posting about being intentional with content creation, and I think that's kind of the biggest hurdle for people. It was for me for sure. When I first started finding my voice on LinkedIn, it was like, what do I post? Who cares what I have to say? Who's going to be my audience? Do I have an audience? All of these things and moving parts. And too often, like, you can fall into that trap of viewing LinkedIn like all other social media, where, if it's all about likes and engagement. And to an extent, that is, what you're aiming for when you post content on LinkedIn too. But think it's, what you talk about is important, being intentional with that content creation. So for yourself, I mean, you post regularly and it's, varied topics, and it doesn't seem like you're forcing yourself to do these things. And maybe you are. If so, you're very well at masking it. But
Thank
how do you kind
you.
of challenge yourself to post with purpose? Be intentional with what you're sharing with your network. Give them a glimpse of, what's going on in the mind of Kasia, what's important to you in a way that they're going to connect and engage with it.
What a great question. You've always got such thoughtful questions, Matt. So I love coming on and discussing. I think when it comes to posting with intention or sharing, because really what you're doing when you're posting on LinkedIn is like you're sharing parts of yourself.
Mhm.
Hopefully maybe your full self, right?
Right.
People get into the whole what is your authentic self?
Yeah.
To me, it's like sharing from lived experiences, right? Especially in
Mhm.
this age of like AI and content slop, as they're calling it.
Right.
People are worried about putting stuff out there that doesn't sound genuine. It doesn't sound like them. It doesn't
Yeah.
give off the impression that it's actually them behind the content. And the one thing that AI will never be able to do is share your experiences.
Right.
So that's one of the easiest ways to start. And I really encourage everyone listening to be to consider this an invitation to start posting once a week if you haven't.
Hmm.
The opportunities that come through with making yourself visible online, even if it's not like 5 times a week, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as people make it out to be, right? Even if it's one time a week, you're getting in front of people that matter. you're getting in front of doors that can open for
Hmm.
you. And that's how I ended up landing my new opportunity, right? I briefly mentioned it. If it wasn't for my visibility, I don't think it would have worked out this way,
Right.
to
Yeah.
be totally honest. And I was sharing the things that are authentic to me. So, what am I passionate about? Well-being, understanding that performance needs to be optimized through well-being. Like you can't take the human out of the equation
Hmm.
and expect them that if someone gets enough sales coaching or um, like mindset tools, that that's going to be enough and that they're going to be just fine. We have to look at them as human first. And so the well-being and wellness aspect of my work is something I'm just so passionate about, and it comes so easily to me.
Yeah.
So for me it's like of like not really focus following trends. I think, trends come and go. There are occasions where it makes sense to jump on one,
Sure.
but really know yourself, know thyself. It's something I say on
Yeah.
every show. Who are you under the titles? Who are you under, the different I guess like positions you hold, and hobbies you have, and like personality traits. Like get to know yourself for who you are at a deeper level, and through that, you'll get a little closer to what your purpose is. And then
Yeah.
from that purpose, it's usually very connected to what you're meant to go out there and share about, right?
Hmm.
So posting from lived experience and knowing yourself.
Yeah,
To
absolutely. So, and not being deterred in the process too, right? Because when you start, it's going to feel like you're shouting into the void, and rest assured, that's just going to get you to where you need to be. I don't encourage this, but if you go back to like my initial posts on LinkedIn, you'll see that I had no clue what I was doing, and it took some
totally.
trial and error to figure out what people were connecting with, and challenging myself to do this X amount of times a week just to get comfortable with it. And now I just post when it feels like I should, beyond like the Maximize Monday stuff. That's a pretty easy every other Monday thing to throw out there, but everything else now, it's kind of like haven't posted in a while. Let me catch up with people and things like that.
Totally. And it's exposure therapy.
Yeah,
Like it literally is. It's so uncomfortable the first couple of times, and then it just you stop caring because you start to get messages that people are like, wow, you shared something that really resonated with me.
right.
And just hearing that one time, it like cancels out all the
Right.
cringe that you had before that. So I really
Yeah.
can't emphasize this enough for people in 2026 to be making themselves visible online.
Yeah. Absolutely. But with that visibility comes, like you mentioned, you're going to get messages then, the outreach, the inbox, and it can get chaotic. And I've fallen into that too. And if you're listening to this and you sent me a message and I did not respond, apologies in advance. It's one of those things, right? And I think something that a lot of people with, that heightened presence on LinkedIn run into pretty consistently is, your day to day will get in the way and you don't have the time. You see the message and you're like, I got to respond to this. And then eight other things happen. And then before you know it, it's been 6 days and you're like, should I still even respond to this? Is this person gonna be like, wow, thanks for
The
finally
shame
getting there.
spiral.
Right, right. And so you posted about, how you've found ways to get some organization in your inbox, and how have you found positive ways to just kind of address that issue, feel more in control with the timeliness of your responses?
So I mean, I totally share the same sentiment. It can get overwhelming. I know some people are very systematic in how they respond and how they manage things. The LinkedIn inbox just doesn't give you that opportunity.
Yeah,
So like natively, it's a little harder to keep that structure and that organization. I'm a very structured woman,
yeah.
and at least I try to be, because not all the
Right.
time. But one of the things that internally I was always struggling with, even in building this brand and posting on LinkedIn, I was struggling internally with shame or like feelings of, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten back to them in a timely manner. There
Mhm.
was one mentor that got me into the space, into tech, 7, 8 years ago now, maybe even 8 to 9 years ago. And every couple months, he would come through on my brain, and I was like, I need to send him a message. I need to send him
Yeah.
a message. And I wouldn't, and that, whatever, that's a separate kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's like it wasn't made really easy for me to do through
Mhm.
LinkedIn. It's one
Right.
of the main ways that we were connected. And I always just wanted to send him an update, like, hey, this is what's happening. Like, I think about you, we're sending you best wishes, my
Yeah.
family, right? And there were things that were, once that shame spiral starts, it's hard to get out of it. And
Hmm.
so that was something I was always struggling with for a very long time, basically since I started posting on LinkedIn. And that was kind of embarrassing for me to admit, even because as someone who has built a brand on wellness and like performance and like don't do the things that are going to hurt you, right?
Hmm.
That are going to impact your ability to be in integrity with yourself and with others. Like it was hard to do that. So I
Yeah.
actually learned about this brand Condo, and it's, it is a brand sponsorship, and I'm engaged with them. But when I started to learn about the platform, I was like, oh my gosh, this like takes away the stress of having to manage an additional piece that just is chaotic right now. And
Yeah.
without chaos, without structure, there is chaos.
Hmm.
So the LinkedIn DMs, the way they're set up currently, in my opinion, is chaotic. And when you don't have structure to help yourself maintain wellness and any kind of like consistency, or it just it makes it harder to deliver in a way that you want to deliver, right? Because systems beat guilt.
Yeah.
Systems are what create order. And so being able to learn about Condo, I have a link that people can try it for free, which I'll share with you afterwards, Matt. It has dramatically reduced, if not totally eliminated, the guilt of that you carry on a day to day.
Hmm.
Because the way that it works is you initially connect, and then you basically get all of your messages in a row, and you just say
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to archive this one. You're just clicking buttons, and it's sorting your messages. It's labeling your messages for you as you're just going down a list. It is one of the most effective ways I've ever seen. I managed around 500 conversations in about an hour. I was like,
Okay.
okay, this needs an action, but I don't need to do it right now. So
Yeah.
then I'll time block it for like I get a reminder. Or hey, this person needs a follow up at Christmas time. Like, and it was just incredible. The mental space that comes from having a part of your life organized.
Yeah.
Like I hope that many of us strive to be organized at home, at work. We all have these different systems that work for us. What works for one person won't work for everyone.
Right.
But especially in like a sales kind of area, like it's important to be timely with responses. You want to be thinking about your image. And so that was a personal experience of like the shame and
Right.
like
Yeah.
stress that I had from not managing something that was bringing me all these opportunities, and I couldn't manage them in the right way. So Condo really fixed that for me, and it's a really fabulous platform that I really stand behind and I use on a day-to-day
Awesome.
basis. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Awesome.
anything that creates organization is certainly something to look into and potentially invest in. So for sure.
Totally.
For
Exactly.
sure. So we're going to stray off the path a little bit just because whenever I have you on, you're kind of my go-to when it comes to dealing with stress. You share a lot of insight on, things that worked for you. You're constantly posting content on how to deal with the various pressures that life, that work might hand you and how you can come out stronger after the whole thing. And summer's a good time for people to take this time for themselves, but it's still a challenge, right? It's hard to put yourself first. You and I have talked about that a lot, and how that mental hurdle initially is one of the biggest things. So what would you say are some of the methods that you use to give yourself that time to reflect, relax, and then be re-energized to handle new pressures as they come?
You're gonna be so annoyed. It's my same answer as before. Know yourself, know
Yeah.
thyself, know what gives you energy and know what drains your energy.
Hmm.
People tend not to have that basic clarity. And when you don't know what to do, right? Because it's like I can tell you obvious things, meditate, right?
Yeah.
Spend time in nature if you have the opportunity and privilege, to live somewhere nearby. Like, eat well, sleep well, prioritize your sleep. Like, we know what to do.
Yeah.
So I actually would push back and say it's not about me sharing what to do.
Hmm.
It's about you getting really clear on what's gonna serve you and
Right.
then doing it. Because um kind of a hot take that I have is that, and I've lived it, and that like I have the direct lived experience of this. This is why I have this opinion. Stress comes from not doing the things that you know you should do.
Hmm.
And so if someone is living a very stressed out, burnt out life, well, we know that they're not prioritizing themselves and their well-being in some sense. It
Right.
could be that they're doing too much of what drains them.
Hmm.
Could be like they're working a job that they really don't feel in alignment with. They don't really feel respected in the workplace. It can be so many things.
Yeah.
Or it could be that they're not doing enough of what really fuels them. For some people, it's running. For some people, it's knitting. For
Mhm.
some people, it's a passion for photography and like outside the world of, let's say, business or,
Yeah.
probably many business people listening. And so, knowing like there's nothing that I can say that will work for everyone apart from meditation.
Yeah.
If you're I know that it's not like the answer people want to hear. But meditation is a skill that pays dividends once you've kind of figured it out and once you've
Yeah.
committed and dedicated to it because it's allowing you to go deeper and actually know yourself on deeper levels,
Hmm.
which is why it's important because we get so caught up in this external world, we
Right.
forget about everything that's happening inside us.
Yeah.
Stress, depression, anxiety are all internal. They're not
Hmm.
caused by the external world. They're not caused, so it's not caused because someone did you dirty and then
Yeah.
that's why you're anxious. Like it
Yeah.
actually has to do everything with your response to a stimulus.
Yeah.
And so not to stray off the path too much, but I always say that like your decisions dictate your circumstances. But people think that the general public, I would say, think that their circumstances dictate what decisions they can make. It's not
Yeah.
true. You have it backwards. I will say it because people aren't talking about it. That is what victimhood is. It's saying I don't have the power to change my circumstances. And yes, there are people who are in really horrible situations, and
Hmm.
those are always a separate discussion.
Yeah.
But do what you can for yourself to help yourself.
Yeah.
Do what you say you're going to do. And in order to do the right things for yourself, know what those right things are.
Hmm.
How can you know? Meditate, spend some time quietly reflecting on your life, journal, understand, who am I hanging out with that is draining me?
Yeah.
Where am I spending time that really re-energizes and revigorates me, right?
Hmm.
So I wish it could be a more simple answer, but there's nuance to it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I always like to discuss it with you because you always seem to have a new nugget to drop too as part of that. The message stays the same, but you have different ways, different paths to take, and
Very true.
yeah, it's always what I enjoy, the variety. And then another topical thing. I feel like every time you and I get together on the show, we discuss networking, and you and I are a pretty good example of this because we've stayed ex
Yeah.
connected for quite some time now. And I think we connected because you used the Maximize Monday hashtag once, and that was all it took for you and I, and here we are, years later, still chatting
Mhm.
consistently. But sometimes that can be the struggle. And I think I've messaged you in the past before. You've messaged me. We have like check-ins. It's not just we talk on this show and then we don't
Yeah,
speak
of
for four
course.
months. We pretty much stay engaged, but that can be a struggle for some people. And I've told you that, I'm not great with being the first person to, reach out always. And, if you look at my inbox, I'm not the greatest at responding either, but I try to make it a point.
Hmm.
But what I think a lot of people run into with this, especially if they're trying to build their network, if they're coming to me with for advice or insight, I see that message a lot of like, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you." And if you're listening, watching, it's never a bother. If I can't get to it, you're not distracting me. I will promise eventually get back to you. But that mindset of trying to be consistent but feeling like you're burdening someone. How do you encourage people to escape that mindset, not overthink that whole concept of networking?
Excellent and timely conversation. I think as many students even are graduating and thinking
Hmm.
about what they're doing and where they're going, and are they pursuing a path that really fuels them? And
Yeah.
not limited to just students. We should always be reflecting on, are we heading in the general right direction? Right
Hmm.
looks different for different people. The main thing I would say is curiosity. And like maybe I'm biased. I have a love for all people. I love
Hmm.
all people. I think all people are good with a couple of exceptions of like
Sure.
real evil. But the
Right.
reason I mention it is because I want to see all of us succeed. I want to see all of us become more balanced and more aligned and feel more joy in our life.
Yeah.
And you can't share what you do not have, right? So, if you're absolutely miserable, people aren't going to want to engage with you.
Right.
We don't talk about that enough.
Yeah.
We placate and we are like, oh, you poor thing. And like, I might be going a little bit on a, tangent here, but um, it really matters that like, change also starts with ourselves in that we are in a position where we feel like we're adding value to someone's life.
Right.
And you can do that because you're curious about them. You might have a new perspective on something that they shared. There's different types of networking, right? So you can be reaching out to people through LinkedIn. I do it. If I see
Mhm.
somebody on my feed and I'm like, that post hit, like that was really phenomenal what they said. I really related to it. I'll comment and I'll like the post and I'll reach out to the person themselves and I'll be like, your content really stood out for me. This is where I really related. I would love to keep in touch and really be a part of your journey, see the things that you follow along.
Mhm.
If we're talking about in-person events, it's again, it's curiosity. It's like, what helped you get to where you are today? And I
Mhm.
think that's something that really helped me in my early stage of my career was genuinely wanting to learn from the people who have had experiences that I wanted to have,
Yeah.
right? So if I was talking to like a VP of sales, I wanted to know, how did you get there? What did you do? Like, what were the things that you learned? What skills do you recommend I focus on? Were there any defining moments in your life that really helped you get that skill? Like, and trying to extract that wisdom from
Mhm.
them so that you can skip that learning process. You
Yeah.
can take that wisdom and apply it in your own life. But the requirement is curiosity.
Mhm.
And for me personally, I think it also requires you to care deeply about other people.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned I love all people. It's like I genuinely have done enough work on myself to get to a point where I know the value that I'm adding in any
Mhm.
kind of conversation. People can choose to see it or not. That's a different story.
Right.
But I know I show up with this baseline of self-worth and confidence, knowing that I'm going to add to a conversation that allows me to approach people with love, with respect, with reverence, and want to genuinely learn from them and get curious about them, which then leads to new opportunities, leads
Mhm.
to meeting new people, the right contacts, the right connections, being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
That's something you create for yourself. You
Yeah.
create the opportunity. So I will say, if you're like, but for all intents, like miserable in your own life, if you feel like you have nothing to add to people, they will sense that energy. And your first responsibility should be to take care of you and to clean yourself up, whatever way that means. Like, do what you need to do to get yourself to a better state. Could be like a doctor's support. It could be just doing the things that you say you're going to do,
Mhm.
So, hot take, but it's reality.
Yeah, it's a true one for sure. Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time and, posts that speak negatively about a job experience or a specific industry or things, they'll get the people that agree with you and you'll get the likes, you'll get the comments, but, there's not much value beyond that besides, that gratification that people agree with your opinion. But
And you're also showing people who you are.
mm,
If you put out a bunch of negativity, you are showing and training people to see who you are.
yeah,
Other people don't define you, you define you. And
right.
so and that goes back to the first piece as well of like, how are you showing up?
Mm,
How are you showing up online? If you're miserable, you're going to show up miserable online. You can't
right.
remove the energy, even if it's from behind a screen. It's
Yeah.
still going to come through. You want to be really intentional with curating a really intentional, beautiful life. And if you want to learn more of that, you could follow me
Yeah,
to learn a
definitely.
little bit more on how to do that. And I think that's the baseline for having a good life is like being happy with yourself and content and knowing who you are, knowing
Mhm.
your power, seeing yourself keep commitments to yourself, seeing you raise yourself out of otherwise crappy situations, like
Right.
doing the things that you say you're going to do. Like this is all, we know it.
Hmm.
It's simple. I'm not teaching anyone anything new,
Yeah,
but we're not talking about it and it
right.
has to be talked about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, last question I have is one I've been looking forward to, and one of the ones that it was the first question on my list, and I was kept bumping it down because I was like, I want this to be, our last message of the day.
Mhm.
And because you posted the other day about human readiness, and I'd love to just kind of explore what that means to you because you posed that question in your own post, right? What does human readiness mean to you? So I'm flipping it back on you just
I love
because
it.
I want you to be able to share that. How can listeners transform their life, as you say, prioritizing this concept to stop living life on autopilot? Not just individuals, companies too. How can a company have a similar mindset and embrace that too for their employees and for their own growth and success?
Right. So fundamentally, I've mentioned this already, performance starts with well-being. If you
Hmm.
have folks who are burnt out and miserable and don't feel any kind of commitment like to the organization, let's say, because of the fact that they're so depleted, how can we expect high performance? How can we expect great things from them? And
Hmm.
we have a whole section of the industry, like the coaching industry, I guess,
Yeah.
that's focused on burnout recovery, maybe even burnout prevention. But I heard about this concept of human readiness from a wellness officer on Instagram. Like, I'll be
Okay.
honest, wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
I heard the words and they like went through my body and I was like, this is the word, like this is what corporate healing is.
Hmm.
It's preparing the humans inside the organization to do exceptional work.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? We look at them as human first. We're in a time of AI and everything. Like people are worried that they're going to lose their jobs to AI and stuff. I don't think that'll ever happen because we can't
Hmm.
remove the human out of all of the processes,
Right.
majority of the processes that we have. AI can make mistakes. Please check your work. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna place a department and then you're gonna have to hire people back to double check the
Right.
AI. But the companies that are going to prioritize human readiness, so looking at their staff and at their organization and at their people as humans who are multidimensional, who have families, who have friends, who have passions outside of work. I know we spend majority of our time at work and sleeping, but are people feeling at a foundational, fundamental level fulfilled that they can then give to the organization? And some people will argue, well, if I'm paying someone like 200K a year, like they should be ready to show up no matter what. I don't get behind that at all because it is an exchange, but 200K is not equivalent to like a human life,
Right.
right? With all of its nuances and all of it. And so I think that the companies that are going to get really far ahead in the next little while are going to be the ones who prioritize basically three pillars, I call them.
Hmm.
So people need to feel good,
Yeah.
to do good or perform well, perform better.
Hmm.
Those two things will lead to living well.
Yeah.
So it starts with how people are feeling majority of the time. Again, a little bit of a nuance. Masculine, feminine energy is different. So feminine energy feels good to do good. Masculine energy does good to feel good. So it's like a little bit of a nuance, maybe in
Hmm.
that order for men and for women.
Sure.
However, the fundamental piece is that we need to be taking care of our physical body, our mental state, our emotional state, and our spiritual connection, to whatever we have here, whatever we choose that to be,
Yeah.
in order to perform at the highest level. And that's what I feel like my mission is to help people get to that space. And for me, the missing link was spirituality. And to
Yeah.
this day, I believe that one of the biggest problems we have in society is that people have forgotten or have lost that spiritual connection to something. I think
Right.
that's why we see a lot of people going back to religion, back to religion after kind of a period of
Hmm.
detachment from religion.
Yeah.
A lot of people are seeking that deeper meaning. To me, figuring that piece out through what I learned in my mystery school is the all the pieces came together for me. And then I've been able to feel good, do good, live good, perform really well.
Hmm.
For me, it all came from understanding who I was at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that emanated out physical, mental, emotional.
Yeah, it absolutely shows. I mean, in what you post and your intentionality on, every platform, not just LinkedIn. That's where you and I engage, the
Yeah.
most, but I'm sure it's not limited to there for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before I let you go, I always like to give you the chance, and you got a lot of things going on, some projects you've been working on. So where can people find you, follow you, reach out to you if they're interested in coaching services, but take some time to kind of talk about what you got behind the scenes.
My website, corporatehealing.co, always a great place to start if you're interested in learning more about my approach. I will likely be going through some updates over the next couple of months and weeks, bringing in this human readiness theme
Hmm.
because I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I think it's very unique. I haven't heard anybody using those words apart from a wellness officer on Instagram.
Yeah.
So corporatehealing.co, Kasia Pelkovsky on LinkedIn. You can also find me by my handle at Cash with a K Flow Positive. And of course, if you are interested in managing your LinkedIn inbox a little bit more specifically or more effectively, then Condo, I have a link. I'll send it to Matt. Perhaps he'll put it in
Yeah.
the notes. You can try it there, and of course, as you connect with me or as you try Condo, reach out to me.
Hmm.
That could be your practice for like the networking piece, right?
Yeah.
What kind of resonated about this episode? What really stood out? What are you looking to improve in your life in the next little while? Did anything I say hit a chord? I would love to know because yeah, it's just, this is life and we
Yeah.
make the most out of it. And I'm here to ask some hard questions of the people
Definitely.
that listen because we're better off for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need that challenge. Well, Kasia, it's always a pleasure. This won't be the last time we do this. We'll reconnect in a few weeks to talk about your new role and that
Mm.
search and that process too. But for everyone who listened, who watched, let us know your thoughts. Let us know any insight, input you might have. How you manage your own self, how you embrace your own human readiness, and would love to hear from you. And we'll talk to you soon.